Welcome to the Heavy Debriefings podcast.
We are Josh Runquist and the Metal Fairy.
A fun-loving metal couple that brings you the best in new music.
What did you just make me listen to? As well as movies.
3 hours later, nothing of value was added. TV.
It's going good, so why not cancel it? Video games.
Here's an idea. Remake the game, but make it worse. Wrestling.
Why are we still watching this week after week? And all things entertainment.
I knew it. I knew she was behind Black Guy Gates. And a little insights into our personal lives. You don't mind that I trauma dump on you, do you?
Emotional support girlfriend, party one. He's a handsome fella.
I know, you keep telling me. We're made for each other, because no one else would have us. Enjoy the show. Hey everybody, Josh Runquist here for the Heavy Debriefings podcast, episode 47, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
We're almost at the 52 episode mark, which means 1 full year.
It doesn't feel that long.
Yeah, I can't believe this is the first Sunday of June.
I know.
We're almost halfway done with the year, in the calendar way.
Which is crazy.
I don't like it. I don't like anything about
I don't
it.
either. Oh, yeah. I concur.
But all that said, thank you very much for tuning in. I think we got one heck of a heap of a show
We do have
going
a heap
on
of a
here.
show.
We're going to be checking out the Metal Fairies take on Midnight and the album Let There Be Witchery.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about all of the news that we've been missed out on the past week that we haven't talked about. Might want to wrap this up quick because good old GCW Deathmatch weekend is going on right now.
That is true.
It'd be nice to actually watch some of that.
Yes.
And of course, as you could tell by the name of this episode, we are going to be covering our top 30 albums of 2024, which means up to 60 albums we'll be talking about at the end of the show.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how many will have crossover.
Me too.
But I forgot to introduce you. Of course,
I'm the Metal Fairy. Yeah.
Yeah, 47 episodes,
Nice to
and I
meet
never
you.
forgot to introduce you until now.
Yeah, it's a first for everything. You did talk about me, though, so that's something.
That's true. You just got home from your bi-weekly excursion.
I did.
We barely got to talk. Like, you sat down for like 10, 15 minutes, and it's
Yeah.
like, all right, I guess we're going to record
Let's
now.
get it done.
So how are you holding up?
Oh, I'm hanging in here. I'm in a okay space, a little out of it, a little tired out, but I'm hanging in here, and I'm excited to do the show today. Curious about your list.
I'm also curious about yours. And of course, you had to go through 222 albums.
Yeah. Well,
What is that like for you? Because you've heard at least one song off of 222 albums this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As someone who never really went out of her way to check out music in the past decade or so.
Not to that level, no.
Not to any kind of level like that. You
No.
used to, like when you were first getting into music.
Yeah.
I mean, like getting into like power metal and
Yeah. Well,
all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I would be way more selective with what I chose. I mean, I'd look at the genres, and if it wasn't something that looked like it'd be up my alley, I did not give it the chance. So it was a way shorter list that I went through previously. But yeah, this was a new experience going through that many albums, especially, when we are incorporating albums that really aren't clearly going to be my thing. But then some of them, they kind of surprise you too, you never know. So it was fun, but it's a lot, definitely.
So how would you say you've changed then? I mean, when, like looking back at the selectiveness and now going through a curated list that I put together, what's that
Yeah.
like for you?
I mean, I feel like there are genres that I still pretty much know aren't going to be my thing.
Such as?
But
You got to do this
like,
for the first time, listeners.
yeah.
You never know who's going to tune in for the first time.
like, I would say any like grindcore, anything where it could be like pig squeals, that's not going to be up my alley. But I have learned, and take note, everybody, I am admitting this, that prog isn't always bad.
I can't believe I'm hearing that.
I know, right?
But I think it also depends on the type of prog.
Very much so. Very much so.
I don't think there's a progressive rock band you will ever like. one that's just considered progressive rock.
Yeah.
Like they gotta have progressive metal attached to it.
Yeah, I like harder.
Like you're never gonna check out the Van der Graaf Generator. That's just never gonna happen.
They're not my thing. Yeah, it has to be a little bit harder, and if it is mixed with something else, that's always a win for me. But yeah, I've come around a little bit, and that's something I think.
Yeah, I am just, again, so curious to see what that's going to happen. But of course,
I know.
that's going to be at the end of the show, which you can skip to now, or you can listen to the rest of the show that we have in store for you. Starting off, what we've been up to over the past week. Who should go first this time?
I'm open. Yeah.
I guess I will.
Okay.
I'd say the biggest thing that I've been going through right now is, for the first time in nearly a decade, I went to the chiropractor.
You did.
I went to a franchise chiropractor, which I didn't realize was really a thing. I mean,
Right.
I've always heard about this place, but I've never ventured into it. Although it is Joey Janela approved.
That's something.
The Joint, which I might as well talk about because
Yeah.
I have nothing but good things to say about it.
Yeah.
After waking up on Friday in probably the most amount of physical pain I've been in years upon years, you finally took the initiative of, all right, we're going to see the chiropractor now.
Yeah. I just saw the look on your face. I'm like, I can't leave you like this for the weekend.
And I didn't know that much about the Joint. Apparently, you can do it like a subscription service where you pay monthly.
Yep.
You can also pay by session. But the one thing I didn't realize, it's kind of like all natural kind of stuff that they do there.
Yeah.
They don't like to focus on taking any drugs. They don't like to focus on using any mechanics or anything. They like to do things as like human natural as possible.
Yeah.
And I actually think I need that.
I think that's good for you. Yeah.
The chiropractor that I'm using right now, who could not possibly be better,
Yeah. He was amazing.
he took a look at me and realized how bad of shape I'm in. I mean, when a doctor or a chiropractor or someone else kind of points out that things might be bad, it's bad. Because normally they wouldn't say that, oh, let's just do this real quick and you'll be good to
Right.
go. No,
Right.
that's not me. He had to mention a few times that he's not a miracle worker.
Yes.
Which means that I might not get fixed, but I got a lot of stuff going on from basically my head all the way down, my whole body, I guess you could say.
Yep.
You were sitting there and you heard
was.
some cracks and pops.
I
What
did.
what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, he, like you said, he seemed very thorough. Like, I was impressed. You never know, like, walking into any appointment in general, like, what you're gonna get. And he was so thorough, so knowledgeable, so helpful, had lots of tips, even with stuff not regarding your back. And, like, then with your back, too, like, he really figured out what your issues were and tried to focus on them and actually gave you a plan, which I love.
And I love that he's not a quack,
Yes.
because I was afraid of that going into it.
Yeah.
I'll say this. When we first walked in,
Yeah.
it looked like it was an adult boutique photo shoot area.
It's very modern.
It's very modern. They're playing like electronic dance wave music, or maybe
Kinda.
that's just what the receptionist wanted to listen to.
That could
I
be.
don't know.
Who knows?
They also had brochures on starting your own joint franchise,
Yeah.
as you pointed out.
Yes.
But no, like, he was very knowledgeable. He has medical degrees. It's not just someone who took a chiropractic class for a weekend. It's
No.
like,
No.
he actually knows his stuff. And he's going to try to get me off of ibuprofen and
Yeah.
whatever the real name for Aleve is. I take those liquid gels pretty much every day to be able to fall
Isn't it
asleep.
like Nexapro or something like
Yeah,
that.
but his plan is to get me off of all pain medication.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so if I don't have to take that anymore, I would be a very happy guy.
Yeah.
And I did feel so much better afterwards, but I am still feeling a lot of pain.
Yeah.
My neck and my shoulders and my lower back it comes in waves. Sometimes it feels like pain's going somewhere else. Sometimes it feels like it's going away.
Yeah. And of course, he mentioned that would obviously come back, and that's why you have a plan with him.
And that's why we're going back tomorrow.
We are.
Also, maybe it's just the way my mind works. I'm not entirely sure how this works, but I felt so much less pain that my mental pain started to compensate for all of it. And while you were gone, I had one of the roughest weekends I've ever had.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because my mind is so used to being in some kind of pain, it felt like it just had to do this.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I hate how effed up my mind is, but
Right.
you know, I'm a recovering suicidalist, you know? Like
Yeah.
you know, it's like when someone goes to rehab or something like that, they're not going to get it the first or second try necessarily all the time, but you know, I took 9 attempts on my life so far and I'm really hoping that there won't be a 10th.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like I'm recovering. I'm still
Exactly.
trying to get over my depression and anxiety and stuff. And if getting my body aligned can help with that, I want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's one of the last things that I've tried to do.
Yeah.
And I also need that for my physical pain as well, too.
Well, yeah.
Because if anyone, well, no one has seen me in the past 5 years, anyone that knows me. But you can state for it, like how hard it is for me to walk and to be able to bend and do stuff.
To sleep.
To sleep.
Ugh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing, too. It's like, I slept good until I didn't. And then
Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain. My lower back started to really, really hurt. And I've actually been up since 5:30 this morning.
Ugh. Yeah. I believe it. I believe it. But
You were going to say?
oh no, just going back to the mental health thing and like how like it's a process. It's not a cold that you just get over, you know. It's a process for your life, you know. And all you can do is take it step by step and try to find ways to alleviate some of it, you know.
I really hope so.
Exactly.
Other than that, decided this week, because it would only cost about like $29 for the next half a year.
Yeah.
To get a PlayStation Premium again.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of games on there that I want to try, but not necessarily buy. So I wanted
Exactly.
to try them out, and pretty much through that whole time, I've just been playing Crime Boss Rockay City. For anyone that's not familiar with this was like advertised as kind of like a Grand Theft Auto kind of game. It's got like Michael Madsen and Chuck Norris and Vanilla Ice and Danny Trejo and all these people that it feels like a movie.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's not like Grand Theft Auto. It's not an open world game. It's almost kind of like Risk in a way. Like, there's a whole city and there's 5 different gangs. And the whole idea is your gang is supposed to take over the entire city.
Gotcha.
And all these other gangs have their territories, and you go into them and you try to kill them off to gain their territory.
Yeah.
And you do a bunch of other things like robbing gas stations or big old armored trucks or banks and all these other things that goes along with it. And it's also a roguelike, so that means that when you die, you have to start all the way over from the beginning again. But with roguelikes, you can unlock stuff that will help you for the next run that you do. So it's not automatically way back to absolute zero. There's progression through the game no matter how many times you die, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Because the game is hard.
Yeah.
And it also grades you when you die every time too, and I've never gotten past a D yet. So apparently this game really sucked when it first came out, but I'm playing it now and it works just as advertised, just not a $70 game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do enjoy it, and
Yeah.
it could not be more 90s if it tried. It's got body count, it's got John Bon Jovi.
It does. It does.
All the lines feel like it's some really terrible 90s action movies, which I think was done on purpose with like their delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a very tongue-in-cheek game, and if you like roguelikes and you like crime kind of stuff, it's a fun game. Again, don't ever pay $70 for it, but
no.
if you got PlayStation Plus Premium, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Or if it ever goes on sale, I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
I think that's about it on my side. How about you?
Yeah, I will say for Crime Boss, it kind of reminds me of like a little bit of the Grand Theft, but kind of mixed visually with 007, The World Is Not Enough, but then kind of the humor, not quite as edgy, but still a little bit of the humor of Broforce.
Well, Broforce isn't edgy.
Well, but I mean, it's very...
I mean, this is edgy. Like,
Yeah.
every other line has the F word in it.
Well, that's true. But I mean, Broforce is... Yeah, I shouldn't say edgy. It's broy, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like a loving tribute to like 80s action movies.
Yeah,
And,
but it has kind of that, cheeky action side.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about like 90s crime movies, it's very, very tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
So what about you?
But yeah, on my end, of course, I'm still playing Skyrim because that's what I will do forever until the next Elder Scrolls game comes out.
You're never going to play anything else.
No. Or Kingdom Hearts. So the next Kingdom Hearts game comes out, which will probably be when I'm 90. Outside of that, I watched the last episode of the Vanderpump Rules reunion. Yeah, really nothing new there, honestly. It's the same old. Like it's been the same thing every episode this season. And then outside of that, I've been playing a lot of Romance Club over the weekend because it's in the middle of a free weekend where you can pick any choices throughout the games that you want and not have to spend any gems or anything. So that's really about all I've done on my end. Yeah.
I'm totally blanking out now just because of everything that's happened over the last couple days.
Yeah.
Have we done anything else this week?
Yeah, we did a couple things. One, we watched Spawn, the movie.
Oh, yes.
I saw it for the first time. You've seen it before, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Watched it as a kid. I am a gigantic Spawn fan. And if you checked out the episode where we cover our top 10 superheroes, supervillains, stuff like that, Spawn is my number one. Mm-hmm. I love the story so much. And unfortunately, I can't listen to it anymore, but Iced Earth did a very good, pretty much intro album to Spawn, like the very beginnings of trying to understand the story.
Yeah.
Obviously, now with Spawn being in 2024, it's over 350 issues now, so it's not going to cover everything, but it was a good little intro bit.
Yeah.
And of course, over the past almost 2 decades now, there's been talks of a very dark, horror-esque reboot that's supposed to happen. But that's not what we saw. We saw the 1997 Spawn.
Yeah, we did.
With Martin Sheen and, what did you think?
I mean...
John Leguizamo was Clown.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. I had a brain fart during that.
So, I mean, Spawn, he wasn't my number one, but I know he was on my list because I love Spawn as well. And unfortunately, because of the Iced Earth album, but that's another story. This movie, I mean, while on the one hand, it's slightly enjoyable because of Spawn and just because of, being an old movie you can make fun of and stuff, it's pretty terrible. The graphics are horrendous.
Absolutely horrendous CGI.
And there's a bit of racism thrown in too, which is not good.
And not just one instance of it too.
No,
there's a lot of it.
No.
Although I will say that is in the comics, and that is a focal point that goes into it. But
I feel like
that's not what the movie was trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like it was probably done, even though I haven't read the comics, but I feel like it was probably done differently in the comics.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a story arc with the kind of racism and stuff like that happens at times.
Where in the movie,
Spawn, it was a one-off joke.
Yeah. But I mean, I saw it. I checked it off the list. Would I go back to it? Probably not. I'd like to find something better. Spawn, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spawn or The Room?
Okay, what's the question?
What's better?
What's better?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go with The Room because that's just a hoot the entire way through.
That is true.
Yeah.
But come on, the little kid from Kindergarten Cop is in it, and
yeah. But I mean, The Room doesn't have racism in it. At least I can't support something that is like that.
Right, but that's also the edgy 90s that they were going for. I mean, for anyone that didn't live through the Spawn era of the 90s, he is the quintessential definition of edgelord. Like those teenagers that I don't understand why girls don't like me kind of things. I mean, like Spawn was like the hero for all of them. Kind of just like how cops think Punisher is a hero. Like, you don't really get it, do you? But you're going to use him as a symbol.
Right. I get you.
Yeah. And of course, I have a whole bunch of Spawn toys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, we got a Spawn statue.
Well, that was my next thing. The other thing we did this week, in the past week, we went to one of our local comic book stores just for kicks and giggles, and we found a couple things.
Yeah. Since I did bring it up, there's this really nice statue of Spawn when he gets his wings for the Wings of Redemption arc that happens in the comics. Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous. I don't want to take it out of the box because of how nice nice it looks and everything.
Yeah.
I felt bad about the price, so basically saying it's both of ours instead of just saying it's mine. I feel like it was the only way for me to justify it. But after we looked at the Spawn statue,
Yeah.
you were looking at other comics and stuff, and all of a sudden I noticed a little tiny stack of vinyl.
You did.
There was a John Carpenter horror, one of his terrible horror movies from the 90s soundtracks. There was a couple other ones I can't remember, but there was one in particular that I had to show your direction.
Yeah, you did. You found the Goblin Suspiria soundtrack. That's right, everybody. I purchased a prog vinyl.
All Media Reviews is going to be so proud right now.
Oh, I if you don't know already, I love the movie Suspiria, and I love the soundtrack to this movie. So yeah, I just had to get it.
And one of the best, worst experiences we ever had was seeing Suspiria live with Goblin, actually doing the full film score.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was one of my favorite concert experiences ever, except for the fact we were supposed to have seats, and we didn't get them. So we just had to sit on a cold
sat on the
concrete
ground.
floor.
At least we were up against the wall,
And
but
the venue that we were at used to be a movie theater, so it's all slanted. So if we tried to stand up, we were going to be at an inverse angle the
Yeah.
whole time, which it's so funny seeing people try to do mosh pits when they're like going uphill and then downhill, like they completely like lose their stuff and they constantly trip and fall.
Yep.
But this one, obviously it was like showing the movie and stuff like that. So it was just easier to sit down because, even though we tried to pay for our seats, it didn't work out that way.
well, they had set up a couple couches like in the front couple rows, and that's for like a special tickets that people could buy.
Astronomical price.
Right. So we didn't do those, but then like behind the general admission part in the upper hand section, there are seats built in. The theater seats are still there, but they quote unquote didn't set it up for people to go sit up there, which means nothing. Like, let us up there. There's nobody there.
There was nothing. We were going to be the only two up there.
Yeah.
But I digress. And that was also
Exactly.
from F Weasel, but still. So I'm gonna take it. You're never gonna take it out of the shrink wrap. You're just gonna have it as
Probably
a
not.
collector's item.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
We don't have a vinyl player.
No.
I don't even know what color the vinyl actually is. I've seen a blue version
Yeah.
and I've seen a green version with the same cover. So
Yeah.
it kind of has like a blue splatter and a green splatter version, which either one would be pretty cool.
I agree.
But I'm really glad I found that for you because there's no way you would have went through vinyl at a comic book store. So I'm glad I took those couple seconds to find that and then send that your way.
Yeah.
And then you just instantly fell in love once you realized what it was.
I did.
And just seeing you hug it after it's like, okay, I need to get this.
I did. And we found a couple comics too.
Yeah, I'm still getting the quick stop stuff from Kevin Smith, which is what he's doing right now is like they're doing the backstory of movies and how the golden cow and everything came together to become the mascot of movies.
Yeah.
Also got some Creepshow stuff. I do love me some Creepshow. You got a Poison Ivy one.
Yep, I don't collect all Poison Ivy because obviously there's so much out there, but she is one of my favorite female characters in the comic book world. So I just kind of go by covers and which covers I like, and at some point I want to display them. So yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
No,
Like, it's
I would
kind of
agree.
like the way that we collect vinyl.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're ever going to listen to them.
Yeah.
Ever. But we like the cover art so much.
Right, yeah.
And when we were getting into our comic stuff, at least I know I did, when there's like a big series and stuff like that, I didn't necessarily go for like the story arc or the most highly rated comics or anything. I went with what I thought was the coolest covers.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I still do that to this day, although I know now what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But, I still think it's a cool thing to do. I mean, if it can get you into it, why not?
Agreed.
And all right, folks, now it's time to talk about all the news that we remembered over the past week.
Yes.
Gonna be honest, the past several weeks, it's been almost half the show
Yeah.
doing the news. So this time around, not as much.
Yeah, it's a slower week.
Maybe something will come up in a stream of consciousness, like we might remember remember something that's happened, but we don't have nearly as much news this week.
Yeah, but that's okay. We got more after. So up first, kind of going off our previous section in the Spawn talk, Hansi Kirsch, who many people know from Blind Guardian, who was also in the band Demons and Wizards with John Schaefer of Iced Earth, who wrote the Spawn album, Dark Saga, has done an interview and was asked a few questions about John Schaefer. If you don't remember, John Schaefer was a part of the January 4th storming the Capitol events a couple years back. And
The insurrection.
Insurrection, yeah. And Hansi has basically said that he deserves a second chance. So to quote what he said, well, everybody deserves a second chance. Well, I agree. He certainly deserves a second chance. That is the main message which should be spread out in general. And other than that, he's facing his trials. So it's a very open situation he's in. And yeah, let him express himself first before anyone else is saying anything about it. That's my opinion, and this is how I treat it. So
That was kind of a nothing statement, wasn't it?
a little bit. Like
It sounds like corporate speak to me.
kind of. I mean, he's not trying to be like, yeah, John is a great innocent guy, but he's still trying to kind of put out an olive branch to John to give him a little bit of a nudge. But what are your thoughts?
Well, no, I'm not going to forgive him.
Yeah.
You tried to take away my rights to satisfy yours.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
no.
Right.
But also to flip the coin, Christian Renner of the Harsh Vocals podcast has pointed this out a couple times on my Facebook, and I'll say it here to paraphrase. If he was like crawling on death's door right in front of your door, would you try to help him, or would you just let him there to die?
Yeah.
I don't think what he did was worthy of him like rotting on the door in front of me.
Right.
Like
right.
you would still try to help him.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, I'm never going to forgive, never going to forget.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not the most heinous action that's ever been done.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I know you don't have this down.
Yeah.
Mark Henry says that the Velveteen Dream needs a second chance.
Interesting.
Yeah, so kind of the same thing with very different actions that happened.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to go into that. You can just look up Velveteen Dream
Right.
and see what happened there if you're that interested in wrestling. But I don't think John Schaefer should be like put up to the stake and like burned like a witch.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I need to support him anymore. That doesn't mean I need to listen to Iced Earth stuff, or if somehow he is ever able to play another live show or anything like that, I don't need to go see him.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear new music from him. I can just be done and remember the memories that I had before, and I don't need to live there anymore because, it's kind of healthy not to just live in nostalgia all the time.
That is true.
So what about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's so many varying degrees of what people can do. And we talked about this a little bit after the last show we did, except for it was regarding somebody completely different and a different topic. But
Although we did also talk about this in the car as well when we were
Yeah.
coming back from the comic book store. So
Yeah.
everything's put together.
yeah, that's true. Did he murder anybody? Did he, assault anybody sexually or anything like that? No, he didn't. So yeah, I don't think he should be like sentenced to death or anything. But, he still definitely did things that did hurt people physically as well, because there were people who were injured there, and could have like went even worse. So he does need to pay for that. I mean, and, going forward, everybody can change, but that doesn't mean it changes what already happened. Things did happen and he did do that. And even if he comes around and says, oh, I don't even feel that way anymore, which I wouldn't necessarily buy from him.
Oh, I would not believe it. He owned a Southern Civil War store called
Yeah.
1776, which
Yeah.
was antiques from the gray side of the Civil War.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to change his mind over getting caught in an insurrection, but continue on.
Yeah. But like you said, I mean, that doesn't mean I need to support him. I don't need to listen to any of his music anymore if I don't want to. And it's hard, you know. I mean, we all have different beliefs. We all have different opinions and stuff. But there's a difference between, you know, just kind of having your opinions and living your life, and taking your opinions to the next step and going out there and doing something that could physically hurt people, you know, trying to take down, destroy government buildings, stuff like that, which he did. Like, there's difference between...
Would he have murdered someone had the insurrection went through? Because remember, like, the whole plot was to, like, off Vice President Pence and other officials.
Who knows? Who knows? I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah.
So... yeah, it's a messy situation. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, no.
Yeah.
One last bit on that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do this for a whole theme coming up in the future. Not sure yet,
Yeah.
but I think it's something that's well worth going into, but maybe not the entire thing. But separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
Can it be done anymore? Can you do it? I'll just say baseline for me, and then we can move on. I can't do it anymore. I used to be able to, but I can't. There's just some things that bother me way too much.
Yeah.
And also dealing with my own mental demons. If I feel like people have done things to hurt others and have no remorse for it, I have no reason to support you anymore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's one of those situations where, oh, what happened to you? So that's the only reason you care. But, you know, sometimes that is the way things happen, and that's how some good things can come of others. But, yeah, I can't do the separation anymore. What about you?
For me, it depends on what it is. You know, there's some people who can't separate it just because the person has a big ego. That I can overlook sometimes. But like when it gets to be things, like I said, where they're taking action on things, they're actually like acting out on their opinions and thoughts and stuff like that, that crosses the line a little bit for me. So that kind of is where it gets into the area where I can't really support them as much anymore.
And maybe we'll do that for a theme in the future, but we got a big old show here, so why don't we continue on?
Yeah, so next up, Vixen has parted ways with her singer Lorraine Lewis, and it has come up that they have already found a new singer, but it is not Janet Gardner. She has put out there that she is not rejoining Vixen, but we don't know who it is yet.
I don't have all the information for this, but this just screams like, we found another singer behind your back, and you got kicked out. Something that's happened to me many a times in bands where everything from my cover bands to other bands that I've been a part of. I even remember my cover band putting out in the Weekly Trader. Did you ever get that where you grew up? It was like a weekly newspaper kind of thing where it's like you can like buy things if you call the number or the address or something, like a drum set for sale for $500, call this number. And
I mean, in our weekly like town newspaper, they had a section where they could do that, but
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was for the county where I was from.
Okay.
Apparently, while I was still in the band, they did that.
Oh, jeez.
And I wouldn't have known that, but they decided to tell me that on my last show.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, it just went down in flames.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. Boy, that would be fun, like going through my horror stories of being in bands for another theme. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But I guess with Vixen is like, why now?
Yeah.
Why are you doing all of this now? What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love Vixen from back in the day, but I haven't really kept up with them over the years, and I have never seen them live, so I don't really know what they sound like anymore. Lorraine Lewis, I loved in Femme Fatale back in the day. I don't know what she's sounding like anymore. I know the only original member in Vixen now is the drummer. So it's just
how many other bands in the world are like that, where the drummer is the only original member?
Not many. So it's just kind of her project at this point. So I don't know. It all seems a little messy.
Kind of living on the edge of a broken career, am I right?
Oh, I see what you did there. But we'll move on to our last piece of news. Last week we watched the PlayStation Play to Stay.
Play to Stay?
Did I mess it up?
I think
State of Play?
Yeah, State of Play.
Okay.
You had that dyslexic thing going on there.
Yeah, apparently.
And trust me, I have that once in a while too when I'm off mic.
I mean, it's PlayStation. It would be play to stay.
Yeah, why don't you try telling him that?
I will. I'll write a letter.
All right. So, did he write down any of the games?
Yeah, so from my end, I mean, there was definitely a chunk of stuff that was not up my alley, but the things I was excited about was they're like fancying up Until Dawn, which
Well,
really
it's a
didn't-
remake.
Remake, yeah.
That was the word you were looking for.
I know, but whatever. Like we talked about, like when we were watching it, it didn't really need to be remade, but I'm still happy anyways because I liked that game, and it's one game that I actually played on the big screen, and I will play again on the big screen. So yeah,
I'm surprised you haven't done any of the Dark Pictures anthologies yet.
I know I need to at some point.
You should.
Yeah, and then the other game.
Well, I was also going to say,
yeah.
the reason why they're doing this is because there's a Until Dawn movie that's going to be coming out, I believe, next year. So I think that's 100% why they're doing a remake
That makes
of this.
sense. And it'll be curious to see how that goes because, like we were talking about, this is kind of a choose your own adventure type of game. So, what adventure will the movie go down?
And I hope this works out okay because I really want season 2 of the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yes.
And of course, I have attachment to that because Chemis does the theme song for the entire series. The old Irish tune "Oh Death."
Yes.
They do a very heavy version of that, which fits so perfectly.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm so looking forward to season 2.
I agree. And then also Silent Hill, which I've never played.
Silent Hill 2
yeah.
remake.
Yeah, I've never played Silent Hill games. I've never seen
Yes,
the movie.
you had. Well, you watched me play
what?
the 3-hour demo game that came out
Yes.
a few months back.
Yep. But any of the like full-on Silent Hill games, I've never seen the movies. So it's right up my alley. I don't know why I haven't. So I'm excited for that one.
Does it have anything to do with an ex being into it and that drew you away from it? Like with the gaming stuff, right? I know that happens sometimes with you. Like,
Yeah, no, none of my exes have been into horror.
Okay.
Not like me, anyways.
Well, you don't have to look so disgusted by me saying that. I was just trying to figure out
You
why
brought the
you
thought
would
of
have avoided
exes
this.
into my head, so that's a little bit disgust. Yeah.
Well, there is a whole trope that we need to go down with the old Uwe Ball movies. The German director who has done so many video game live-action adaptations, like Silent Hill, like Alone in the Dark, and so many other terrible movies. And I think you would enjoy that because I know you enjoy terrible horror.
That is true.
And he has a lot of terrible horror live-action movie game adaptations, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So how about you?
You also forgot a big one, at least for me.
Well, I love that one for you.
Okay. Well, that darn little cute mascot that PlayStation's been pushing with, originally with the PSVR, and then also what comes free on the PS5, a little kind of short little game that anyone can platinum just by finishing the game.
Yeah.
But Astrobot,
Yes.
they're actually doing a full-fledged game that's not VR, so it's going to be like a full-price game, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be full-priced. I think it should be
No.
like 30, 40, something like that.
yeah.
But no, it's going to be like their version of Mario through the
Yeah.
world of PlayStation. And it's already got hints like that. You see Astrobot dressed up like Rapal the Rapper, and like that's what I love so much about the PS5 game that comes installed with it is like it's like a journey from the original PlayStation all the way up to the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And I imagine they're going to be doing something very similar to that, but with like the Mario mechanics of like the platforming and all that stuff. So it's right up my alley.
Totally.
And he's just so gosh darn cute.
He is adorable. Yeah.
That's why I'm surprised you left that off.
Well, but you're more into like playing it. I haven't played it. I watch it, but I mean, I watch the other ones too, but like it's not like a story-based game, so it's just he's cute.
Well, it's the story of PlayStation.
Yeah, I suppose. But that's all news we have.
Yeah, that is the news. All right, this show is in fifths, so we're 2 fifths done with the show.
Yes.
And we're going into the third one here, talking about Accountability 101, where, of course, you've gotten better. And, of course, like digging through 222 albums in 2024, that's no easy feat. And most
No.
people won't even listen to 2 brand new albums, let alone
true.
222
That is
for
true.
stuff that you've never heard before. So I give you all the props in the world.
Well, thank you.
But there's still so many bands from before this time
Right.
that I wanted you to check out that you just never have.
Yeah.
And that is the series known as Accountability 101, where you actually take accountability and you check out at least one album from a band and you give me your thoughts on it. This time we've gone in a completely different direction. Some very sleazy, dirty, horror-esque music from the band Midnight and the album Let There Be Witchery, which came out in 2022. Should I have gone with the 2024 album? Well, it might pop up later, so it might have been redundant. So I wanted to go with one that did not come out this year, so I went with the last one. I love this album. I love Midnight. They have just that perfect blend of like heavy metal, almost thrash metal, black and roll, and the lyrics are dirty, sleazy, and full of horror. On paper, this should be right up your alley, especially with the dirty, sleazy horror stuff. But in all transparency, after we recorded the show last weekend, we went immediately into checking out the stuff for this week with Out Today and What I Missed, and of course Accountability 101. We did not wait. We just wanted to get it over with because we had our top 30s to do. And yeah, this pretty much came right after all of that. So I don't think there's anything else I can add right now. Let's get into your thoughts on Let There Be Witchery.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest, like it was hard to find a lot to write down with them, but I'll get into why as I go. So up first, the song Telepathic Nightmare, definitely dark but super catchy. Second song, Frothing Foulness. I really like the guitar solo on this one. Not as catchy, but it kind of had like this, going off of the name, the Frothing Foulness, like it had like this kind of gross sound to it in a way.
Well,
to match the atmosphere, you know?
I can't imagine that's the only title that's kind of gross on this album.
Well, that is true. That is true. Next up, In Sinful Secrecy. Again, super catchy. The chorus is very, very simple, but very catchy.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. Up next, Nocturnal Molestation. I remember this one. Again, super catchy. This is probably one of my favorites.
It's toe tapping.
It is toe tapping. Up next, More Torment. Again, super catchy. I felt like this one was a little bit of a filler song. But not bad at all, you know. Next up, Let There Be Sodomy. Again, catchy, very funny.
I imagine that was going to be the original title, and then the label was like, we can't have you name it this.
I would envision. Up next, Devil Virgin. Fine. Kind of a little bit of filler song. Snake Obsession. Again, super catchy, super simple. Villainy, Wretched Villainy. Very catchy, very fun. Yeah, I like that one. And then Szek Witchery.
It's just sex.
Well, it's spelled Szzex.
Zex.
Just a fun song. I mean, overall, they're a fun band. They're easy to listen to. On the flip side, I do feel like if you hear a couple songs, you've kind of heard them all. I mean, they know their sound, and that's great. That's great. You know, if bands know their sound and they go with it, go with it. Like, they're fun. I'm sure they'd be just a ride to see live. But it's not like they're, writing the next amazing score or something, you know what you're going to get.
Well, I could see them doing a horror movie since you brought up score.
I mean, they could.
I could easily see them writing like a biker gang horror movie, and they're just like writing the soundtrack to it. I could easily see that.
Yeah, I could see that. I probably said that wrong, but I'm just saying, what you're going to get when you go into them, and that's fine. Yeah.
Well, one thing that you did leave out, and I think it's an important thing to point out.
Okay.
It's 10 songs, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Not a single song goes past the 4-minute mark.
Yeah.
They're all in the 2 to 3 minute range.
It's just quick, fun, listen to it, shake your tush, move on.
And the brand new album is even shorter.
Yeah.
It's also 10 songs, but it's 25 minutes. So, it's just like if this album had fat on it, they cut off the fat for the newest album.
Oh, yeah.
And just left all of the good meat on it.
It's true.
But I really wanted you to check out Midnight because I know that's kind of your thing. I know you don't always check out black and roll and stuff like that, but I figured out the sum of the wholes might be enough for you to enjoy it. So would you check out any of their other albums, or would it just be the kind of thing where it's like you'll listen to them if it's on?
I would, if I was making some kind of a horror playlist or something like that, or in the Halloween season, I would definitely throw them on some playlists.
Well, I'm I'm very, very glad to hear that. Well, what are your thoughts on Midnight? Do you enjoy them? Do you not enjoy them? Are they too simple for you? Maybe they're too technical. Maybe you like things that are even simpler than Midnight. Are they too gross and vulgar for you? Because, well, let's face it, there's some things in here that really only fit in a horror-esque kind of thing.
That is true.
And, you know, I enjoy them. The Metal Fairy seems to have enjoyed them just enough, so I would consider this one a win. But what do you think? And with all of that said, it is time to shuffle the wheel known as Spin the Choice.
All right.
10 entries here. One I see was no longer on here, so I had to put it back on here. I think I accidentally deleted it.
Okay.
Maybe that'll be the one that comes up here. Maybe
knows?
not. But all of that said, shuffled up now. Time to spin the choice. Round and round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. And I can already feel the disappointment on the Metal Fairy's face.
Oh.
Darn it, I'm just gonna try.
Yeah.
I've been trying for 11 years now.
Yeah.
Maybe if you sit down with the full album, maybe you'll finally get it.
Maybe.
But we're gonna stick somewhat with some black metal here. I'm not gonna have you check out their indie post-rock kind of
Oh,
stuff.
thank goodness.
You are gonna be checking out the black metal side of this band known as Alceste or Alceste. I never took French, so I just have to guess here.
Ancest.
Alceste. But I'm gonna have you check out my favorite album from them, which came out in 2012.
Okay.
Les Voyages de la Mer, or well, you took French. Maybe you know how to pronounce it.
I'd have to see it, but we'll go with that for now.
Yeah, it's my favorite one. It does have some of the post-rock elements on there, but it is very much a black metal album.
Okay.
Probably the last one that really felt like a dark album.
Yeah.
And I know you felt with like the couple singles that have come out from the newest album. Oh yeah, you said they were way too happy.
I don't even remember.
Like you heard it. It's like I can't see myself listening to something this happy.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, it's just like someone in the middle of the forest and enjoying the environment around them.
Oh, now it's
Yeah.
gonna bring back memories. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not like that.
No. But outside of like the Fisher Price production of the early day Alceste albums,
Yeah.
this is the darkest one, and I think I wouldn't put this on the Spin the Choice wheel if I didn't think you could like it.
Right.
So I want to give it a shot.
Yeah, we'll give
So
it
next
a
week, Les Voyages de la Mer, as I always pronounced it, and I am a white guy originally from Wisconsin, so I'm sure I've gotten it wrong. Oh yes, we have fun. And in speaking of fun, I've almost pretty much blanked this out entirely because of how much I've been working on my top 30 for the first half of the year. But there was May 31st and out today and what I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost forgot about all of these. Maybe they show up in the list, maybe they don't.
Maybe they don't.
But we did discuss this right around the time that we listened to the Midnight album. In fact, we did this first. And we covered 12 new songs and albums in this situation here, and might as well start off with the top with the band Four Stroke Baron with their brand new album Data Diamond.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting mix where they can hit some really heavy progressive metal like Gojira or some of the heavier sides of Devin Townsend, yet they also have an 80s synth pop feel behind them as well. This album was originally meant to be 2 EPs, both of those styles contributing to one side of an EP. Then they decided to make the album and just combine all of it together. Some consider it a mishmash. I think it genuinely works, but what about you?
I found that to be catchy but odd. Like it definitely is an early 2000 influence that I can feel there, but it's mixed with something that I can't define. So yeah, I don't really know what to make of them.
It's dark and mysterious, like that kid that stands alone by the monkey bars. It's like
Me.
we can change him. You can change it. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably one of your favorite albums that we covered in the past week. The band Idle Throne with their sophomore album, A Clarion Call. Indiana band. You wouldn't really expect power metal to come out of Indiana, but then again, you think about John Schaefer was originally from Indiana before moving to Florida. But yeah, this is some really heavy power metal stuff. I would even say kind of sounds like Iced Earth with like the heavy side of the power metal stuff. They have some thrash influence in there as well, and a little bit of metalcore as well. In fact, you were the one that kind of pointed out it kind of had a metalcore sound to it.
Yeah.
But what did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it. Like, I definitely felt like it was a solid mix of power and metalcore. Like, if Killswitch Engage like did power metal all of a sudden, I could see something like that.
That is an interesting take. I mean,
Yeah.
I could kind of see it.
Yeah.
Next up, Rhapsody of Fire coming out with potentially the best straight up power metal album of 2024 so far. With Challenge the Wind. No ballads, no mid-tempo songs. Every single song is a fast, blazing fast power metal song. And we need something like that in 2024. Just like it's all fun power metal, the stereotypical cheesy power metal that I love from Rhapsody on full display at full force.
Yeah.
But what did you think of this?
Yeah, I really liked it. Like, I felt like it was more refined than a lot of the previous Rhapsody from any of the versions of Rhapsody Affair. But still Rhapsody, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, it's like, I know it's going to be a little bit of a heartbreak when you check out the full album because, you know, there's no ballads, there's no mid-tempo songs. It's all just straight up fast.
Sure,
But,
sure.
you know, to me, that's power metal.
Yeah.
Next up, going to Australia for this one with the band Relica and their sophomore album, Secrets of the Future. This is a strange conglomeration of kind of like the atmospheric progressive metal side, kind of genty as well. I especially hear a band like Tesseract in here, not just because they're Australian, but also modern pop. Like I hear some like Billie Eilish kind of stuff going on here. It's kind of like dark mainstream kind of pop mixed in with progressive metal, but it also kind of reminds me of like the German metal or pop metal that's going on lately with bands like Electric Callboy. It's got a very interesting mix, but what did you think?
Yeah, I really like this one. Like, it's that poppy, clubby stuff without going the amaranth route, but then there's also symphonic kind of elements thrown in too, and I love the vocals on this, so yeah, I'm really into it.
And something I'm really into, and I know you're not, is the brand new album from Thou with Umbilical. This is a dark, hate-filled album, basically a good description of where at least America is in the world right now in 2024, and it definitely has that sound to it. Maybe that's why I'm gravitating towards it so much. But this was too much for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just too harsh for me.
I guess that's all we need to go into with that. And finally, for the brand new stuff that came out back on Friday, is the fourth album from the band Wormwood, and the final album of their trilogy, talking about the death of everything with the album The Star. In the trilogy, it talks about how like a quasar, like a star becoming a black hole and killing off the entire universe. Like that's a scientific theory that happens in there. And kind of the music really matches it. It's melodic black metal, it's gothic metal, a little bit of doom in there as well. I think it's their most refined album that they've done, and I hope it's a big hit for them. But what did you think?
I like this too. Like you said, it has some really nice mellow parts, but then it'll come in super intense and just kind of have that nice balance with it. So it was good.
Yeah, I really dig them. And then the rest of these are ones that I missed along the way. Starting off with the band Bone Ripper and their debut album World Ablaze. And much like I talked about with Thou, although done in a very different style, this is of the metallic hardcore style. But yeah, great description for America in 2024 and how we're basically all in a handbasket to hell. What did you think of it?
It was fine, but it was a little too bro for me.
Like lyrically or the music or...
I mean, I don't think I could really understand the lyrics too well, but
Okay.
musically, vocally, whatever. Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's kind of the thing with hardcore.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you like punk and you like bands like Bad Religion, but they also kind of have the hardcore punk side to them.
Yeah.
And that's where hardcore is, and that's too much for you.
Right. It's a fine line.
That'd be another great deep dive to go down, like try to figure out
Where the
your
line is.
genres.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of vocally not being for you, next up is the sophomore album from Forever Falling with the Determinism of Essence in Matter. This is a mixture of a band from Italy and Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Very much of the death doom, funeral doom, almost drone style. And the vocals, I described it in my review, feels like a stone slab being lifted off a tomb. That kind of sound that goes into it.
Yeah.
And boy, can I think of your favorite sounds, and I know that's included in there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, the vocals were not for me. My interpretation of them was a pig trying to escape from hell.
See, and to me, that reminds me of like Slam and a Brutal Death, like the kind of stuff.
I mean, that's a different activity with a pig, I would say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next up is a band that I discovered back when I was in junior high and loved them ever since. The Swedish band known as Freak Kitchen with their latest album, Everyone Gets Bloody. This is a great combination of progressive metal and hard rock. They really know how to show off on their instruments, but they also write some of the catchiest riffs when they want to. It's a mixture. It's not always 50-50 all the time. Sometimes they go a little wackadoo, and that's not for everybody, but they write some riffs. When they write some catchy riffs, it's some of the best out there. But what about you?
There were parts of it I liked, but it was really hard for me to kind of shift moods between the different parts because it does vary so much. But maybe with more lessons, maybe I could get into it. Yeah, it's just, it's hard for me to shift emotions so much.
I'm also realizing right now that we forgot to talk about singles. Did you have those written down?
Yes, I was going to bring those up after we finish this.
All right. Yeah, totally forgot. We should have started with that, but we're not going
That's
over.
okay.
Next up is Rotting Christ with Pro Christo. A band that you just can't seem to get over the fact that it's not like the most darkest evil black metal out there. It doesn't sound like Dungeon Synth or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They really did start off with that really truly dark evil black metal, but over the years they've gotten more progressive, they've gotten more folky, they've even a little bit of power metal in there sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of people are crapping on this album because it doesn't sound as black metal.
Right.
But I love it. I love this album. Does it make my top 30? We'll have to find out. But I really enjoy this album from start to finish. What about you?
Yeah, I liked it. Nice and folky. But yeah, I just feel like they should rebrand.
Why do they need the rebrand?
I don't know. It just doesn't.
It's pagan.
Fit. Yeah.
They're a pagan band. They don't need to change that.
I get it. It's just.
Do you though?
It's just
it doesn't sound like you do.
It's a hill I need to get over. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now
I mean, you're never going to tell your mom that you're listening to Rotting Christ or something like that.
Probably
but
not. But
you know, the people that you work with in your little group chats, you're not going to say, "Oh, have you checked out the new Rotting Christ album?" Like that. That's not going to happen. I know this.
That probably wouldn't fly well. But yeah.
Despite the fact we both worked at some point in a position where they sold Rotting Christ albums.
Yeah.
But I digress. Next up, an American band that totally sounds like it's in the middle of Norway in a forest, but it is the band Summoner Circle with Shroud of Humanity, a very theatrical symphonic black metal band that I think if you actually sit down and listen to the full album, and I'm speaking specifically to you, could be one of your favorite albums of the year if you sit down with it.
Yeah.
But what did you think?
I liked it. I thought it was catchy. Like, it's black metal, but it has some cleans over it, some nice melodies. The picture that came up for Spotify, it totally looked like it was the guys from Metalocalypse, like, trying to be brutals.
Well, they're a little bit tongue-in-cheek with all of it as well, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think you would really like it, but that's on you. And then finally, going to California with a one-man metal band known as Through These Gates with the Majestic Rites to Passage. This is a combination of melodic death metal, melodic black metal, and some gothic metal, which I really, really enjoy. But you weren't feeling it, which really shocked me.
Yeah, like, I want to like it because it has, like, those horror vibes, but it just didn't pull me in. So maybe I just need to be in the right mood for it and, you know, listen to a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, because there's so many moments of, like, the symphonic elements and the melodic moments that I thought would have grabbed you. you, but
Yeah.
you are a tricky subject.
I am.
And I have to point this out as we're recording it. Here's the 411, as it's 4:11 right now as we're recording this. We forgot to do the singles first,
Yeah.
like we normally do, so we're going to
Exactly.
do the singles now.
Yes. So up first, we checked out the new single "Saint and Sinner" from Dead in Finland. What were your thoughts?
I love the first single more because it feels like it's about me. Like they
Yeah.
really wrote a fantastic song about the struggles of mental health. This one is a very great album, and I'm amazed that they're already releasing another new album, considering they just had one last year.
I know.
Like, how much music are they writing at a time? And I'm not saying to stop. Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going. But I'm just surprised at the quality of the material that they're still putting out through 2 albums in less than a year.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I loved it. Like, I did like the first single a little bit more just because it had a little bit more depth to it, like lyrically and stuff. But I love this one too. I mean, their album last year was top of my list. Like, and I haven't heard when this one is coming out, but I have a feeling it's
They
gonna-
haven't announced yet.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's gonna rank pretty high as well because they are amazing.
Just for anyone listening, I can't seem to remember, where did last year's album land for you?
It was number 1.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did you forget?
No, I was doing a bit.
Oh, okay.
No, I see that fell flat. What do we got next?
Up next, we listen to "The Devil Is a Woman" by Kiss and Dynamite.
Yeah, tons of 80s flair on this
Yes.
one and modern metal. Yeah, Kiss and Dynamite is just that fun band to listen to.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious to hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
I love them. They epitomize everything from the 80s. Like the video is just so like tongue in cheek and like out there, but like they still do it like with a serious look on their face, and I love it.
I spent the weekend when I wasn't in my own mental hell going through all the music for June
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
And there is a couple albums that are tailor-made for you and your love of the 80s.
Okay.
We'll get to them when we get to them, but
Sure.
I think there's some album of the year contenders that are coming out in June for that 80s flair for you.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for that. Up next, we listen to "Falling to My Knees" by Eclipse.
I don't know if this is just a standalone song or if it's going to be
Yeah.
off a new album, because they also had an album last year as well.
Right.
But I really like it. I think Eclipse is one of the best hard rock bands in the world right now. Just like straight up hard rock. And it's funny because they toured with My Chemical Romance as well too, despite being like a very 80s AOR type of band.
Yeah.
But on their last album, I heard some My Chemical Romance style stuff going on there.
Yeah,
So I knew
yeah.
I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy the song. I'm just curious if it's a standalone song or if it's going to be on an EP or a full album.
Yeah, I absolutely loved the song, and I loved that you told me that they had said in, I don't know if it was for their press release or just in an interview, but regarding this song, "Eat Your Heart Out, Desmond Child."
Yes. That was like the one
Oh.
line to describe the song.
And it's so true. Like, it is catchy. Like, this is probably the catchiest song I've heard in a long time. I've heard a lot of catchy songs lately. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear more from them whenever they put out more.
Indeed.
Up next was Dream Evil with Metal Gods.
Dream Evil's gonna dream evil.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I've heard some weird things. It's like Dream Evil hasn't been the same since Snowy Shaw left, and it was like, really? You sure it doesn't sound the freaking same?
Yeah, I mean,
Dream Theater, not Dream Theater, Dream Evil has had their sound since the very first album, and they have
Yeah.
not changed.
yeah.
If you think they have changed, you're lying to yourself. Maybe the production has changed. Maybe some tones have changed. Obviously, the lineups have changed.
Yeah.
But the sound of Dream Evil has been the same since the very beginning.
It's true. It's true.
And I don't want them to change.
Yeah, no. When I go to Dream Evil, I want Dream Evil, and that's what I get regardless of what I put on from them, and this is no exception.
Exactly.
And then finally we checked out Let It Fall from Hi Parasite.
Yes, this is kind of collar tugging, or maybe I'm just building it up too much in my head.
Okay.
But Aaron Stainthorpe of My Dying Bride has come up with a new band called Hi Parasite.
Yeah.
And of course, if you know anything about Aaron Stainthorpe, the one thing you'll probably know him best for is My Dying Bride.
Yeah.
But especially since the pandemic, he's been doing a lot of guest appearances. He was on the Lord of Shadows album that you really enjoyed from last year. He does a lot of either spoken word or his signature cleans and growls on other albums for a song or two. And it's always in the Doom category.
Yeah.
Always. Hi Parasite is not Doom.
No.
It is straight up goth.
Yeah.
Like almost like high intensity goth. As well, compared to My Dying Bride, it's high intensity.
Yeah.
But there was one comment I saw on the YouTube video that said Parasite Lost, which I think is a great description for it. Like, it sounds a lot like Paradise Lost.
Okay.
And Gregor McIntosh did produce the album.
Well,
so
there you go.
I think there's a lot of his flair going on between it. But yeah, it sounds like Paradise Lost style gothic metal.
And clean vocals.
With his clean vocals. Potential album of the year material as well, too.
So
Like,
why do you say Tug Collery?
I say that because there's a lot of infighting going on right now with My Dying Bride.
Oh,
like
so
they
I'm
canceled all of their shows.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to be doing Maryland Death Fest. They canceled. They say that there's so much turmoil in the band right now, and they need to figure out what's going to happen if they're to ever play another show or release another album again.
I got you. So Tug Collery on their front. And
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I feel like Aaron doesn't want to do My Dying Bride anymore.
Yeah.
Why else, like, throughout all of this fighting that's going on inside the band, are you coming out with a band that you say is not a side project? Mm-hmm. You're saying it's a full-fledged band, and you're going on tour in the UK in the fall.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are kind of just lining up to where I think the latest My Dying Bride album might be the last My Dying Bride album.
Maybe. Yeah.
And the final song on their Crushed Embers feels like a great way to end My Dying Bride, but I don't want them to, as I
Yeah.
love them so much.
Yeah.
But I also highly love what's going on with Hi Parasite so far. So what about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't have the history with My Dying Bride that you do.
Oh,
but-
you will when we get to it on the Spin
I
the Choice
know,
Wheel.
I know, but I've heard some of his stuff, especially last year. But this song is everything I love. No, I absolutely love this song. This album is going to be pretty high for me as well. I can already tell. Parasite Lost is hilarious because yeah, I can see the interconnections there. But yeah, I mean, I know he's typically done Doom in the past, but he was built for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
2024 has been a really, really good year for goth this year,
Yeah.
like gothic metal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously some albums are still to come out, but between bands like Unto Others, Cemetery Skylines, Hi Parasites, there's a lot of good gothic metal that's coming out this year.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that represented at the end of the year, I guarantee you, between the both of us.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because there is not much better than a mighty fine gothic metal album.
That is
when
true.
it's done in this kind of style.
Yeah.
And why don't we talk about that since we didn't bring it up in the news? I guess we can talk about it because it's kind of like new stuff.
Okay.
Wasp, Death Angel, and Unto Others
Yeah.
coming to Minneapolis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wasp is doing all of the self-titled debut for its 40th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
Death Angel, if we get to go, it'll be the first time you get to see them where you actually care about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially with the new single from Unto Others, Butterfly, you really like that song. From, I know you don't remember it that well, but once you hear it, you would remember it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's an amazing bill from start to finish.
It's amazing, but odd. Like, I would never have imagined these three bands would tour together.
But they all fit together in some way.
Yeah.
Like, Unto Others is goth, and Wasp has that kind of gothic imagery, at least when they first started off.
Yeah.
Like all the black leather and the skulls and stuff like that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
With Death Angel, you know, it's like Wasp was on the heaviest side of the glam metal thing. And Death Angel is like they're thrash, but they also have a very melodic side to them as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like on the frayed edges of all of that combined.
Yeah.
Like you combine
I mean,
the
I
three.
get it. I just, and like I mentioned to you this off the air before, but I'm just trying to envision any of the guys from Death Angel just hanging out backstage with Black Key Lawless. I just can't.
But if we get to go, you're not going to care about any of that. You're just going to
I
be happy
know.
to see them.
I know, but it brings a giggle to me.
Well, hopefully for Blackie's sake that his back will be okay. And trust me, I know all about those back problems.
Oh yeah.
But I hope the tour happens. It was supposed to be here last year with Armored Saints.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a better bill.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I hope that happens. And what do you think of the new singles? What do you think of the Out Today and What I Missed? Anything to cover up here? And now I think it's time for the grand finale of this whole episode. Our top 30 albums of 2024 in the first half of 2024. And as I just said, and no, I did not just take a break here, the top 30 albums of the first half of 2024. Now, this comes with a little bit of explaining to do because, you know, obviously as we're recording this right now, it's June 2nd.
Yeah.
My niece's 24th birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday.
If you are checking it out somehow. Yeah, you are 24 years old. And this time next year, you can legally rent a car.
Nice.
But I know there's people out there thinking, hey, it's only June. Why are you doing this at the halfway mark already? Especially in the beginning of the month. With the way that I categorize music for checking out new promos and stuff like that, I go from January to May for the first part. And then I go from June to November for the second part. So that's 11 months. I don't really count December with except for a couple exceptions because quit putting out music in December. You apparently don't want anyone to promote your album. You don't want anyone to buy it.
Yep.
Just wait the extra couple weeks and put it out in January or get your crap together and put it out in November. Stop with the December stuff. But between those two, and especially with the way that I do the top 100 albums of the year, the end of November, everything kind of gets lost. So when I take all of that combined, like say the last 6-7 weeks of the year are pretty much a loss for me, unless I get the promos ahead of time. So I just cut those out completely, and this is the way I separate it. So beginning of June, we talk about the first half of 2024.
Yes.
So we decided on a top 30 because that's what you wanted to narrow it down to.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many albums you had originally?
40 some, I think.
So how hard was it to cut out those last 10 or so?
It was hard because there were some bands that I just haven't had as much time with, and even some bands that made the list that I haven't had a ton of time with that I think could possibly end up higher eventually, but I just haven't had the time to build that relationship with them yet. So it was hard. It was hard to cut out some of them, but you know what? I made a list and, you know, I'm second guessing everything. Even on the way home from my excursion, I was listening to it. I'm like, should this be higher? But you know what? I'm sticking with this for now. It's not the end of the year list, so it is what it is.
Now, you were kind of hinting at almost kind of like traumatizing things going into this. So what was that everything that you were talking about like right now?
What do you mean traumatizing?
Well, you were talking about like how hard it was to put all of this together. I mean, did you just describe all that or was there more horror stories to it?
No, that was it. I mean, just like, I know this isn't going to be the placement at the end of the year, obviously, but
Well, yeah, we got another half a year to go through.
exactly. But still, even like this list could change in a week. You know what I mean?
I feel that even as of this morning, I was still rearranging things, so I totally understand.
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident with it for the most part. I mean, there's a few albums I feel really bad for not including.
Yeah.
But I think I pretty much nailed everything that counts into my top 30.
Okay.
And, you know, obviously with the way that if you've been checking out the show before, it's not just like kind of like what Loudwire does where they just pick out the top 30 most popular albums in rock and metal. Like these are ones that we actually enjoy.
These are my personal favorites.
Yeah, we're not putting on the new Bruce Dickinson or the new Judas Priest so people will talk about it.
Hey, spoilers.
Hey, I never said that they weren't in there.
Oh, okay.
I said we're not putting them in in there just so
Because
people
of
will
that.
talk about them.
Okay, that makes sense.
You're the one that did a spoiler. Or did you?
Or did I?
Yeah, like these are the ones that we actually go back to, listen to, enjoyed enough, and want to promote. It's as simple as that, and that's the way these things should always come down to. It should not be engagement baiting. It should not be clickbaiting. It should be actually what you enjoy. And if you don't do that, suck it. And speaking of sucking it, is time to spin the choice.
Yes.
32 entries here. 16 are me, 16 are you. Who's gonna be going first? Haven't done this one in quite a while. Looks like it's gonna be May. Although it's
be
June.
May.
Dirty pop.
But if it won't stop.
That was stuck in my head for some reason this
What,
week. No reason for it.
Yeah.
I don't listen to it, but all of a sudden I woke up and just dirty pop. I don't know why. I do not understand. But yes, top 30 of 2024. Here we go.
Alrighty.
Starting off at number 30, I have Lords of Black with Mechanics of Perdacity. This is a fantastic album from Lords of Black. I'm trying to figure out if it's my favorite or not. I know I haven't given this one enough of my love.
Yeah.
But every time I hear it, I do love it. And of course, Mr. Romero himself is just like one of the best singers in this style.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the standout songs on this album, I Want the Darkness to Stop. How could I not relate to that?
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, just a really dark, infused power metal, heavy metal, and of course, Ronnie Romero. I mean, there's not much else you could really ask for.
My number 30 is Russell Guns with the album Medusa.
I thought this would have been higher.
Yeah. So it's with Jack Russell, formerly of Great White, well, currently of his version of Great White, on vocals. And I love his voice. Like he is getting up there now, so his voice isn't necessarily what it used to be, but he has a way of knowing his range. Like he knows where it needs to be, and that's what he does. Like he doesn't try to push it to something that he can't do anymore. And then of course Tracy Guns on guitar. I love his guitar work, obviously formerly of LA Guns. But it's just such a catchy album, and this is what bands from the 80s need to do. Stop trying to sound like something, either like way too light or too whatever. Just be you.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy this album. It's just amazing to me because there's so many bands of their era that do not put out good music.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they made a sleeper album here.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are going to disregard it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a mistake.
I would
Like, if you
100% agree.
love what they've done in the 80s, you need to check this thing out.
Yeah, who knew they would be such a great pair?
Exactly. Next up for number 29 is North Sea Echoes with Really Good Terrible Things. Probably the lightest album that's going to show up in the whole thing of 2024. This is very ambient music from Ray Alder and John Matheos of Fates Warning. With Fates Warning no longer going to be putting out music, I'm glad to see that these two are still working together. There's one song that gets heavy, otherwise the rest of it is very down. A lot of acoustic stuff going on, some electronic moments going on. Ray Alder with his magnificent voice, which he really got his stuff together like in 2015, 2016. He's just been on a roll since. And I just really love this album, and it's just one that's a good relaxation album for me.
My number 29 is Mega Colossus with Showdown. Just heavy metal, but kind of fantasy lyrics. Sean Buck Buchanan is a vocalist. I love his voice, like super powerful, clean vocals. And it's just a fun album, like super, super catchy.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Sadly, did not make my top 30 this time, but things can easily change.
Yes.
But I thoroughly enjoy that one. Number 28 is Austere with Beneath the Threshold. Very depressive black metal. Super melodic as well too, but very dark and downtrodden black metal, dealing a lot with mental health issues and stuff. I think this is the best album the band has ever done to date. Their blend of Australian depressive black metal just works for me. And if you got the bonus or the special edition bonus version of this album, they cover Sentenced.
Oh, nice.
Cross My Heart and Hope to Die.
Oh, okay.
Which I'll have to show you off air.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really really good.
Okay. My number 28 is Stryker with Ultra Power. Stryker's is super 80s rock metal, just fun, catchy as can be. Definitely have a sense of humor. Like, it's just a good time album.
I was hoping that was going to be higher.
I know.
My number 27 is Ghost on Mars with Out of Time and Space. This is a debut album from this Italian dark progressive metal band. They combine a lot of influences that I love from bands like Evergrey and Pain of Salvation, and they find a way to mix in that modern progressive metal sound with more of that early 2000s progressive metal, and of course with the emotional lyrics attached to all of it, it just hits home with me.
Very nice. My number 27 is Whom Gods Destroy with Insanium. Not my usual music, because it's a little proggy for me.
It's very wanky prog.
Yeah. But Dino Jalusic on vocals makes the band for me, because I just love him and his voice. He's amazing. And then Bumblefoot on guitar. I do like Bumblefoot, and Derek Sherinian on keys. So it's super good music, like skilled wise, you know. It's just a little bit of an adjustment for me, but I do it for Dino.
And I gotta point this out with Bumblefoot, and I don't say this enough.
Yeah.
We went to go see Bumblefoot live, opening for Yngwie. After his set was done, we were sitting kind of in this far end corner. Oddly enough, the same venue where we saw Goblin
Yes.
do the Suspiria film score. Like, he had no idea who I was or anything like that. I couldn't imagine that he would have. But he went up to us, shook our hands, and thanked us for coming out to the show.
Yeah, such a nice
Just
guy.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He was shaking people's hands and doing that. I just thought that was one of the nicest, humblest things I've ever seen any musician do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're opening for Yngwie,
Yeah.
who would never do such a thing.
No, he would not. But yeah, he was so nice. And I've seen him with Guns N' Roses in the past too. Like, he's an amazing guitarist. So yeah.
Number 26, going back to a previous segment, I got Midnight with Hellish Expectations. Everything that I talked about before on Let There Be Witchery, but even shorter at 10 songs, 25 minutes long. I don't think there's a song that goes past 3 minutes on this album.
Yeah.
Most of them are in that 2.5 range. But just a fantastic album. And you did say it's you've heard Midnight, you've basically heard every album, but there's little different shades of gray that happens with it.
Sure.
But I really enjoy it, and it's a blast to listen to. And it's a blast because it's less than a half hour.
That's true. My number 26 is North Sea Echoes with Really Good Terrible Things. Obviously, you've talked about them a little before, but musically, again, this is another one where it's not my usual thing, but it, like you said, it is just super relaxing. And then, of course, my boyfriend Ray Alder on vocals, like... This is, girl.
I just figured out what we're going to do for your birthday.
Yeah?
We're going to rank all of your boyfriends and put them in a battle bracket to see who wins.
Oh, yes. I'll start on it now. I'm excited for this.
I mean, that's not going to happen until November, but I think that would just be a great one where you rank all your boyfriends.
I can start making the list now.
And you can see I'm clearly not jealous. That's the one that's coming up with this. But...
you won't be on the list, but you are my number one.
Don't lie to the people like that. We're a real, authentic podcast here. You don't need this. You don't need to spill BS like that. 2024 is going to be filled with enough political BS
Well, that is
that
true.
you don't need to lie about our relationship.
And right around my birthday time as well.
Yeah, and potentially that Wasp, Dark Angel,
Yes.
not Dark. Well, I wish it was Dark Angel as well, but Death Angel and Unto Others.
Yes.
Number 25 is Vitriol with Suffer and Become, the most extreme album of 2024. I don't think anyone's going to beat the intensity of this album. I think more people are going to gravitate towards albums like the brand new Aborted, which was originally on this list, but I did have to cut it. This is more of just it feels like a battle inside your head when you're dealing with mental health. And it kind of makes me feel seen.
Yeah.
Even though it's not... I don't even think the music is about that in any way, shape, or form, but just like the intensity of the music and the battle that's going on in your head. It feels like a good representation of it. And it's, despite all the chaos and the absolute horrific stuff that's going on in it musically, it's very calming in that sense too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't think anyone's going to put out a better full-on, like 100% extreme metal album this year than Vitriol.
Okay. My number 25 is Oak, Ash, and Thorn with Our Grief Is Thus.
Glad to see that made it in.
Yes, pagan folk metal, super heavy.
From Colorado.
Yeah. Super heavy, but still super melodic at the same time. Adam Armstrong on vocals. I love his voice. Super powerful voice. Cleans and harsh, and just does both seamlessly. So.
And I also want to point out, and I'll do it later. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
Sierra White on drums, like absolutely insane what she's capable of doing. Like, there's clean drummers, but she's a clean drummer. Like every single hit, was
good.
meant to be that way. And between all the bands that she's a part of, I really enjoy what she does with that.
Yeah,
just needed to point that out.
Yeah.
Number 24 is Manticora of Mycelium. For anyone that enjoyed the Mercenary album from last year, I think you'll find something to enjoy with Manticora. They're different enough, but they kind of still have that very melodic metal, almost melodeath kind of sound to them. The vocals may or may not be for you. I'm not going to judge one way or the other, but I love the music so much, and I love what's going on with this album, and it just hits home with me.
Very nice. My number 24, bouncing back to our last section, is Relica. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally saying
it. I saw in an interview that they just replaced the C with a Q to look cool.
Okay.
So it's Relica.
Relica with Secret of the Future. Obviously, we talked about this before, but Australian kind of metalcore with electronics mixed in. But super catchy stuff. I love her voice. I just like the mix. It's just a fun album. Yeah. And like it just came out obviously last week, but I feel like this one could even grow further for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that happening on your end. Number 23, the first but not the last Doom album to show up on this list, because you know who I am.
Well, yes.
It is the debut album from the Bleak Picture with Meaningless, and oh boy, does that go through my head a lot. Very melodic doom and gothic metal combined together. It's not straight up funeral doom where everything's at like 60 beats per minute or anything like that, where it's like a beat a second. It's a little bit faster than that. Very gothic overtones. Very relatable lyrics when you're in a bad state of depression, and it's a good coping mechanism for me when I'm doing pretty bad.
Oh yeah. My number 23 is Mirath with Karma. I know we've talked about these guys previously on shows, but they're kind of what they call desert metal. This album took a while for me to get into, because even though it has that Mirath sound, they know what they are. It's definitely more mainstream than their previous album.
It's that Phil Collins influence.
Yes. But no, Zahir Zorgati, I love his voice. I just love his voice, and I just love the mix of the symphonic, but the power and the folk sounds. It's just perfection. So yeah, I love it.
Right on. At number 22, I got Venplos with the Empyrean Equation of the Long Lost Things. Only 6 tracks on this album, but it is a progressive metal album through and through. I hear like 90s Dream Theater on this album. I hear 80s Rush on here. It's just a quality old school progressive metal album. There's no gent on here in any way, shape, or form. It's just classic progressive metal, and I miss that so much because everything is so genty these days. It's just nice to hear that classic sound, and Venplos is doing it once again.
Very nice. My number 22 is Borknagar with Fall. Proggy, Viking, folky, black, kind of a mix of everything. everything. Heavy but melodic. It's like strolling through the forest with your sword, but in a very like prestigious way. ICS Vortex, just that voice.
Funny enough, my number 21 is Borknagar with
Perfect
Fall.
timing.
Yeah, ICS Vortex and company have created just another great progressive folk black metal masterpiece here. I'm surprised to see it this kind of low because I did have it much higher when we did the first quarter
Yeah.
of the year, but I really do enjoy this album so much. And again, I've covered 222 albums so far this year. So if something's 21, that means I like it a lot. That means it's in the top 1%.
Yeah, that's true. My number 21 is Haunt with Dreamers. Again, another total.
How did you
80s
listen to this?
Bandcamp.
Ouch.
I know. And that's also one reason why it's not as high as it could be, because it's so much harder to access than just going on to Spotify and listening
You
to
could
it.
just buy it.
Like, sure. And then where am I going to play it?
MP3s. Yeah, play it on your phone.
I don't do that. Anyways, it's another 80s flashback, total like 80s heavy metal, just fun, catchy. But this album has such better production than their previous album, so it's just even more enjoyable to listen to.
Makes me wish that he would go back and remix and remaster the previous albums to make it sound like this.
That would be cool, yeah.
My number 20 is My Dying Bride, with potentially the final album from My Dying Bride with the way things are going, Immortal Binding. Yeah, it's just that classic My Dying Bride sound, that mixture of doom metal and gothic metal combined. Slow for the most part, of course, and of course Aaron Stainthorpe doing his heart-wrenching vocals. And it's kind of sad to talk about this album because I know I probably just have it built up in my head.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing being in bands that have fallen apart every time.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the pieces line up that this is probably the last My Dying Bride album.
Right.
And it really does feel like such a sad swan song.
Yeah.
But, if High Parasite really does live up to what it's done with the first single, I'm excited to see where Aaron's going to be going from here. But I know it's not official or anything. I know My Dying Bride has not said that they're dead, but I feel like it's about to happen.
Yeah.
And, if they have to end, I'm glad they ended on this album because it feels like a fitting end.
My number 20 is Vesperian Sorrow with Awaken the Greylight. Symphonic black metal, like super fast, intense, but it has these really powerful synths over it. Vocalist Logan, his harsh vocals aren't my usual style, but it does fit the music super perfectly. And then there are some cleans mixed in that have this very dramatic nature with them. And yeah, I just love it.
Fantastic album. My number 19 is Litchfield with The Maze. This is a German gothic metal band. Like I was talking about before, like 2024 is a mighty fine year for gothic metal, and I think this is a fine example of that. It's goth rock and goth metal combined. Like there's some things that are like really super catchy on the rock side, and then there's other moments that get much heavier. But I think they really combined everything together to make a fantastic goth album. And hey, it's only one letter different from the place we used to live.
It's true. My number 19 is, hopefully I'll say this right, Jus Palais with Dissolution.
Wow.
They are a French black metal band. Spellbound on vocals. I really enjoy his vocals, and they sing in French, which I really love about this. And
Also sings in French.
Well, maybe that'll win some points for them. It's black metal, but it has such nice melodic parts with it too. So it's just a good mix.
I did not see that one coming at all.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely shocked.
Should I pick up your jaw for you?
At number 18 is another debut album from the band The Funeral Procession with In Still Silence. This is another great band that combines progressive death metal and gothic metal combined. Like, they combine some of the heaviest moments of like Opeth with some of the most gothic overtones of a band like Catatonia combined together, especially in the clean vocals. It reminds me so much of Jonas. Yeah, I really love what these guys are doing. And the fact they're from Texas, it does not sound like a Texas band whatsoever. It sounds like they are from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
But I really love this album, and I hope more people check them out.
Nice. My number 18 is Veritaris with The Dark Horizon, melodic death metal, super hard hitting, but it has kind of this almost spacey atmosphere to it. But not in like a dorky, spacey way, but in like a very like ethereal kind of, I don't know, synthy kind of space way. But there's some clean, and then there's some cleans thrown in it too, but there's a lot of harsh vocals, but it's a good mix. And yeah, I just really like it.
And they're from Seattle.
Yeah.
It does not sound like they're from
Something
Seattle.
from Seattle.
Next up, wouldn't you know it, another debut album. One of the catchiest albums of the year, in my humblest of opinions, is the debut album from Canada's Contact with Full Contact. This is the band that you thought was like a crazy robots and stuff.
Yes.
To me, it's just like a fun version of like if you got Snake from Voivod singing over like classic heavy metal. Like they have a song called Heavy Leather about a girl in her metal leather jacket and stuff, and it's just like that perfect like early to mid 80s heavy metal sound. And of course it's done through like this aesthetic that they're aliens and just coming into contact with Earth. The music is so catchy to me, and I love the vocal delivery, even though it won't be for everybody. I do love it.
Yeah.
And I hope more people check this one out as well.
Awesome. My number 17 is Hypersonic with Chaos Magonia.
I figured this one would be pretty high up.
Yeah. So melodic, heavy power metal out of Italy. Very grand and dramatic, which I love about it. Eleonora Russo, I believe I say her name. She has some amazing vocals. Some of it is a little bit more poppy, but that some of it is verging more on operatic. It's a nice kind of mix that she has. They also have some amazing guest vocalists on this album. Paolo from Flesh God Apocalypse and Mark Jansen from Epica. So it's just an amazing album.
Couldn't agree more. Number 16, I have The More with Umbra. I really love their 2018 album Jupiter's Immigrants so very, very much. Like a more dark, sinister version of Nevermore, I guess is like the best way I could describe them. On Umbra, they start to incorporate even more of like growls and screams on here, but they still have the clean vocals that kind of remind me of Warrel Dane, but they also just have that great dark progressive metal feel behind it. Yeah, I love this album. I'm surprised it's not higher right now, and it could end up higher at the end of the year, but yeah, I really love this album.
Awesome. My number 16 is Illumishade with Another Side of You. So there's a band started by Fabian Ernie. You might know her from LVT. I just love her voice. She has such a clean, unique, poppy, but super powerful voice. Their music's like super melodic. It's poppy, but a little proggy, just kind of melodic-y rock metal.
If Vanessa Carlton did prog.
Yeah, super catchy though, super catchy.
And they might want to focus on Illumishade if the things that might be going on with Helvetia or anything to go off of.
Ugh, but yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy that album as well. It's basically a metal album for people who like pop but don't like metal. Like, if they're trying to get into metal, I think this is the album that could get them into it.
Yeah, that's true.
My number 15 is Oak, Ash, and Thorn with Our Grief Is Thus. Yeah, the fact that they're from Colorado just blows my mind, because you don't think of folk metal coming from there.
No, you don't.
But then again, they have mountains, so I guess it works out.
That's true.
But yeah, this is an absolutely insane band that does like a great combination of power metal, folk metal, black metal, a little bit of prog in there as well, with insane vocal delivery. I mean, some of the best cleans I've heard in this genre mixed in with some of the best growls I've heard in this genre as well. They've been picking up a lot of steam this year because of this album, and it's absolutely warranted, and I hope more comes from it, because this is a mighty fine album.
Nice. My number 15 is After Infinity with their self-titled album. So they are power metal, started by Zolt Zilgia, who's the guitarist of Dreamtale. They have multiple vocalists throughout it, and all of them are super amazing. Like, it's just
including the vocalist of Dreamtale.
Yeah. But just really good power metal. Yeah.
My number 14 is the self-titled titled Album from Isan. This is an album of two halves. It's technically a double album, even though they are the same songs. The first one is pure symphonic black metal. Like, this feels like the album that would have came after Prometheus if Emperor never broke up. And then the second album is pure orchestral. Like, all the black metal elements are gone. It's just the full-on orchestra.
Yeah.
So depending on what you like, both of them are absolutely fantastic. This is some of the best material Isan has ever made, and that is a very hard thing for me to say because there's been a lot of great stuff that he's done over the years. Still probably my favorite interview of the year, even though I've only done 9 so far. But yeah, I love this album.
My number 14 is Sum 41 with Heaven X Hell.
I was wondering if they're going to show up.
They are. So some good pop punk just takes me back to the early 2000s. Even though Derek's voice isn't quite what it used to be, I mean, they're still sounding amazing. This is obviously their last album. Not obviously, but this is their last album, or so they say. Hopefully they'll come back at some point. But they sound amazing still, and it's just fun as can be.
You also undersold it.
Okay.
It's 2 albums.
Well, yes, it
Yeah.
is.
The first half is pop punk, the second half is heavy metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just sold it as pop punk.
Sorry.
Yeah, because they have the metal side
They
to
do,
them with
absolutely. Yeah. I forget that people don't know that.
Well, that's why you got to point it out.
I know.
Number 13, some fantastic melodeath here from the band Fractal Gates with One with Dawn. And I guess the easiest way for me to describe it is if you love Omnium Gatherum, you should love Fractal Gates. Like, it's a little more on the proggy side, but it's very much of that melodic death metal side of like that very finished melodeath sound. Absolutely love it. Yeah, if you love that, you will love this album.
My number 13 is Blood Opera with Songs in the Key of Death. So this is Canadian hard rock, again, super 80s, but all horror based. And each song is based around a specific movie, and it's just right up my alley.
You're leaving out the best part.
Tony Todd introing one of the songs.
Well, that too. But it's also a thematic album as well. Like, this album is about the story of this band who died making this album.
Yeah.
And then 2 people decide to dig up their corpses and it just turns into a horror movie in and of itself.
If it's not made into a movie at some point, it's such a loss.
But they're also planning, like, this could be like 5 or 7 albums.
Good.
Like,
good.
if everything goes the direction that it should, and I hope it really does, because I like what they're doing. My number 12 is, wouldn't you know it, another debut album, Synthetic Sentience with Aeon of the Machine. This is just like super fun, catchy, cybernetic metal. It feels like Strappy Young Lad, Fear Factory, Hate Eternal, and some power metal thrown in for good measure. Like, the cleans on this album are insane. That the musicianship is just off the wall with how good it is. And it talks about the modern world with the computers and AI and all these different things. But it's a short album. It's only about a half hour, but it's absolutely insane, and I love every second of it.
Awesome. My number 12 is Electra Storm with Power Lords. So Italian power metal, super symphonic. Crystal and Francis, the guitar player, they both sing on it, and they both have amazing vocals. Just a super good new power metal. It reminds me a lot of Forgotten Tales. Yeah.
That is a great description. I wish I would have used that in the review.
Yeah.
My number 11 is Einvigi with Monochroma. This is a Finnish band who sings exclusively in Finnish as well. It's kind of like a mix of black gaze and alternative rock. Like, it feels like it kind of has like a 90s alternative rock kind of feel. Mm-hmm. You probably don't agree, but like musically I can hear the Cranberries, like in the guitar and stuff. But there's also a lot of black metal influence and a lot of clean vocals on this particular album. Like, they're focusing more on the clean bands this time around, but a very soothing album despite it being a black gaze album, and it just puts me in a more tranquil state, and sometimes I really need that.
Yeah. My number 11 is Pain with I Am. So obviously this is from Peter Tägtgren, electronic, kind of industrial metal rock. I love his voice. I love his music. The lyrics are super cheeky. It's just a fun album.
All right, now we're already in the top 10.
We
I can't
are.
believe we went through 2/3 of this already.
I know, right?
My number 10 is one of the saddest albums I have on here from the band Counting Hours with The Wishing Tomb, a side project of the band Shape of Despair. And if you know anything about them, well, even if you don't know anything about them, you can guess from the title they're a very dark, depressing doom band, and that's what Counting Hours is. Except they focus even more on clean vocals. Like Shape of Despair has like some really haunting screams and growls, but Counting Hours focuses much more on clean vocals, and I think it really works for the band, and also makes it just hurt a little bit more because you can understand what's going on a little bit more. But yeah, just that really dark, depressing doom metal that just fits my soul.
My number 10 is Nocturna with Of Sorcery and Darkness. This is symphonic power metal out of Italy. They have two female vocalists, Grace Darkling and Ren Stillnight. I love both of them. One is a little bit more operatic. One is a little bit more like just kind of rock sounding, just like a tough, but still clean voice. Their lyrics are super fantasy based, definitely sets a story each song, and just super powerful symphonics over it. And it's amazing.
Right on. My number 9 is The Monarch with A Moment to Lose Your Breath. This is the sophomore album from the band, and almost a complete shift in lineups. Like the drummer is the only original member left in the band as well, kind of like we talked about before. But there's some amazing appearances on here from members of Fear Factory and Soulfly. But of course, the reason why the Metal Fairy loves this album so much is the singer of Wearing Scars and Mutiny Within, Chris Clancy, who does an amazing job with his clean vocals and his screams. Like, it's funny because, like, these guys in this band are known for doing like so much heavier music. Like, the drummer of the band was in Malevolent Creation, one of the most, like, brutal death metal bands to come out of Florida. And they're doing like super melodic metal here. Like, it has that metalcore sound to it, but the choruses are very super catchy. And the entire album is filled with that, with the occasional instrumental segue, which, you know, some people aren't going to be into, but I think it's a nice little break. I think this is a fantastic album.
Awesome. My number 9 is Goth Minister with Pandemonium 2, The Battle of the Underworlds. This is gothic, industrial, electronic metal out of Norway. The vocalist Bjorn Alexander Brem, he has this amazing, like, rough but just like super powerful voice that fits it so well. Super catchy. The lyrics are very like cheeky, funny, but like horror-y, gothy, just perfection, and it's such a fun album.
Use the description you used before.
I don't remember.
There's a particular bar that this music would fit in.
This their entire album should be playing at Fantasia, which is the vampire bar in the show True Blood.
My number 8, I was hoping this one would have been higher for you, but it wasn't. Okay. Striker with Ultra Power. This is the most fun album of 2024 in my eyes. Coming back from the dead, the band decided to take their more kind of revival metal, heavy metal sound and decided to turn it on its ear and just become a fun band. Like, there's so much 80s influence on this album, great saxophone moments that happen on here. There's synthwave on here, but they also hit the revival metal sounds, and there's even an occasional scream or growl on here in the backup vocals, which you don't expect from a band like this. But I think Striker went in the right direction. I loved what they did before, but this is the direction that they need to go into, and I love what they're doing.
Awesome. My number 8 is Lords of Black with with Mechanics of Perdacity. Obviously you talked about it earlier, but again, it's power, melodic-y metal, super intense but clean. Ronnie Romero, another one of my boyfriends, does the vocals. Like, there's just so much emotion and hurt and pain in his voice. Like, somebody hurt him.
Yeah, it was his ex-wife.
Yeah.
You heard his solo
She
album.
better watch out. But no, yeah, it's just an amazing album, and he's amazing. So yeah.
My number 7 is the Minneapolis band, Amiensis with Reclamation. Probably the only Minnesota band that's going to show up on here this year. Like, well, real Minnesota band, not just a collaboration. Reclamation Part 1, which is a great display of progressive black metal and folk metal combined. I'm just going to go ahead and say it because I don't think anyone from the scene here is actually listening, but our death metal scene sucks.
Sure does.
But our black metal scene rules.
Yeah.
And Amiensis is just a shining example of that. I love what they do. James Benson and company really knows how to put these things together. Like, they really have gone through a lot of different kind of phases in the band. Sometimes it's a little more proggy, sometimes it's more folky. This is kind of like a good conglomeration of all of it. Part 2 is supposedly coming out in August, and it's going to be much more black metal than this album. But I think it's a good combination. I think it's a good, like, if both albums do come out this year, I love the ebb and flow of both of them. And I'm really excited to see so many bands, or so many people getting into this band because they deserve it.
Awesome. My number 7 is Litchfield with The Maze. So obviously you talked about this one earlier too, but again, it's kind of gothic-y death metal with good symphonics, super intense songs and moments. And it has some like just some gothy kind of hard rock elements to it too. Some harsh vocals, some clean but super powerful. Yeah, I really like it. Another goth master.
Fantastic stuff. My number 6 is Loch Vostok with Opus Pharaoh 2, Mark of the Beast. Extreme progressive metal done to absolute perfection. I'm still sad that Teddy Moeller is not doing the clean vocals in the band anymore because that's how I fell in love with the band to begin with. But the vocals that have been going on with this album and the previous album have really elevated the band, and they've gotten much more attention ever since then, and it's so deserved. They are an extreme progressive metal band, but they don't focus too much on death metal or black metal or anything. There's little spices of it, but it's predominantly clean vocals. They really know how to write a catchy riff. They definitely have the talent with everyone in the band, and I just love the direction that they've been going in right now. And of course, Teddy's a great guy, and I'm glad to support these guys, and I'm glad to see that they are getting much more attention.
Nice. My number 6 is The Grandmaster with Black Sun. Melodic heavy metal. Jens Ludwig is on guitar, who is an Ed guy as well. You might know from that. And then Per Johansson is on vocals. He has this amazing, like, rough but melodic voice, and the music's just super powerful, but like, and aggressive, but like melodic at the same time. And it's a really great album.
That it is. My number 5, which you're probably going to be disappointed by,
Okay.
is Takeda with The Agony Flame. This, I think, was number 3 when I did it before, so it dropped down a couple spots. I don't think that's any inclination about the quality of the album, because this is the best rock album of 2024. It's super, super dark. It's the darkest album this band has ever put out, but it's also beyond catchy. Every single song is so catchy in its own different way. Sometimes it's more gothic kind of feel. Sometimes it's a little more like mainstream hard rock. Like, everything about this is just fantastic from start to finish, and it hits close to home on so many levels. I love this album.
Yes. My number 5 is Crown Shift with their self-titled album. Melodic, death, a little bit of power thrown in out of Finland. Tommy Tuovinen on vocals, some harsh vocals, some clean. He almost has a little bit of a punky rock sound to his vocals, but then there's some really nice melodic parts as well. And the music is very much the same too. Like, it's heavy, but there's some melodic parts that you don't even really expect. Then the bass player is from Winter Sun, so you might might know of that. And then the guitar player Daniel Freyberg used to be in Children of Bodom and Northern and many other bands as well. So it's a nice mix of Finnish musicians.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Finnish musicians that are doing something that kind of sounds like their previous bands, but also not at the same time, which I appreciate. Kind of like Cemetery Skylines. Like, you can find Sentenced and Dark Tranquillity and all that stuff in their sound, but it's not that.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Pain with I Am. This is like potato chips.
Yeah.
I just can't get enough. Like, every time I listen to this album, it is just one of the catchiest albums that I've heard all year, and I don't know if anything will ever be this catchy. Even if it's a slower song, it's just as catchy as the fast, danceable songs.
Yeah.
This is the most introspective album Peter Tägtgren's done. Like, if you listen to the lyrics, it's dealing a lot with his mental health, but he has a way of doing it so tongue-in-cheek that you might not even notice it's a mental health album, but yeah, just so good, so catchy. And of course, one of my favorite lines on the albums I can't say, but it's about genitalia.
Yes.
But it's a great album.
Awesome. My number 4 is Fractal Gates, One with the Dawn.
Ooh,
I know, right?
I was not expecting that.
But melodic, a little bit of prog, a little bit of death metal, harsh vocals, but super powerful and smooth at the same time. And Sebastian Pierre is the vocalist. And then they have some guest vocalists as well that provide some clean vocals. It's very melodic but intense, and it's not like the proggy that I don't like. It's just a nice mix of prog. Just a really great album. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Number 3 is Pallbearer with Mind Burns Alive. Yeah, currently the Doom album of the year for me. Pallbearer has really changed their sound over the years. They've kind of become less doomy over the years. They're starting to incorporate more prog elements. They're incorporating more post-rock kind of stuff. And to me, that just leads to a lot more emotional stuff. Like, I think this is the most emotional album the band has done to date. And the very first song on this album, Where the Light Fades, is what you said is the very first song you've ever liked from Pallbearer.
Yeah.
Now, you've listened to it and you said that it wasn't, or at least at the time, I'm not going to judge for the rest of the list,
Sure.
You said you liked when they got heavier, but you didn't like necessarily like some of the other stuff. They have a saxophone solo, which I know probably turned you off to the whole thing.
You know.
But I love this album from start to finish. I think it might be their best work.
Awesome. My number 3 is The Monarch with A Moment to Lose Your Breath. Obviously, you talked about them already, but very melodic metal. Chris Clancy, like you said, like he's been on some of my favorite music in the past, and I love his voice so much. It's so emotional, like the harsh and the clean, like it's amazing. And I just feel like their music it's heavy at the right times, melodic at the right times, and the lyrics are so hard hitting.
So true. My number 2 is Scale with Traverse the Baylock. This is a one-man band featuring a former member of the band Fallock, which was one of my favorite folk metal bands when they were still active, even though they really only did one album, but I do love that album so much. This is a concept album about the world going through nuclear fallout and exploring the Scandinavian forests after such a thing happens. And it really feels like you're going through the mountains, you're going through the forest, hell on earth as well. Very fast moments happening through here as well. There's some slower moments on here. The final track feels like it's a love letter to Devin Townsend, especially on the album Terria. Yeah, just everything about this album is just so good. All clean vocals, so maybe you should give that one another chance, since I know it's not in your top 2. But yeah, so good.
Awesome. My number 2 is Takeda.
Oh.
Am I saying it right first?
Well, I say Takeda, but
Okay. Takeda is what
this is not number 1. Something knocked it out of number 1.
I mean, if I said it's number 2, I suppose
I
so.
know. I'm just
Have a moment to process.
Yeah.
As I talk.
Okay.
Takeda with the Agony Flame. Obviously, you talked about them earlier, but just very melodic rock metal out of Sweden. Their earlier stuff was a little bit more on the punky side, but I love where they're at right now. Robert Patterson on vocals is amazing, and their lyrics are so emotional and just grab you, you know?
Couldn't agree more. And finally, my number one is much like a lot of other people, but I was here first, so suck it, posers. It is the brand new album from In Vain with Solemn. I've been a huge fan of these guys ever since All Media Reviews showed me their debut album in 2007, which was the year I graduated, which was 17 years ago.
You're old.
Ugh. You're young. Wouldn't it be crazy if we switched
bodies?
Boss Burgers. But yeah, progressive death metal done to perfection with some black metal elements in here, some folk metal elements and some stuff. Some of the catchiest riffs that you'll hear in this style. There's some horns on this album, which I know is probably why it's not your number one album, but maybe it could win you over at some point. But 3 of the 4 members of the band do different types of vocals, from the growls, screams, and cleans. They're just magnificently well done on this album. Every song on here is just so catchy, despite it being that progressive death metal side. I'm glad to see a progressive death metal album actually making it to the top of my list, because it's been a while since I've had an album like this topping my list, and In Vain have nailed it. I didn't know if anything would ever beat their 2013 album Anima, but Enigma. I'm just so happy to see all the love and praise they're getting for this album. They finally reached that, and I just hope that they continue to get it more and more.
Awesome. And my number one is Violet Eternal with Reload the Violet. This is everything I love about power metal. Jien Takahashi is amazing on guitars. Like, it's super neoclassical in the vein of like Yngwie. Ivan Giannini on vocals has this amazing, powerful voice. It's super catchy, super energetic, and just has this passion behind it that I haven't seen from really any power metal in quite a long time.
A very good choice. As soon as I heard this album, I knew this was going to be a top album for you. I didn't know if it was going to be number one, but I knew it was going to be a top album for you.
Yes.
Very, very good list. There's only one album I wish would have made your list,
and that is
Loch Vostok.
Yeah, they were in the bigger list, but
they were in the top 40 and you cut them.
Yeah, though maybe with more time.
I think you need to give it some more listens.
Yeah.
But some genuine shocks on yours. The French version of Pale House, I'm very surprised made that on there. I did not think that was really going to be your bag. But no, I'm very happy to see all of that on there.
Yeah.
And that is the end of our show. Why don't you let us know what you thought of our collective top 30 albums of 2024? Did we hit the right albums? Did we miss some albums? Are you upset that the new Judas Priest is not number one on both of ours? Or the new Bruce Dickinson?
Right.
Although I've seen a lot of backlash towards that album now, but whatever.
Fickle.
But why don't you let us know your favorite albums in the comments down below? We'll be back next week with episode 48 of the Heavy Debriefings podcast. Make sure to check out the outro to check out everything and everywhere you can go to check out Heavy Debriefings. And until next week, for the Metal Fairy, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skullet.
This has been the Heavy Debriefings podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
Make sure to follow Heavy Debriefings on all your favorite social media sites: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. And of course, heavydebriefings.weebly.com for all of your Heavy Debriefings needs.
Also check out the Metal Fairy at facebook.com at the Metal Faerie.
Until next time.